Remember Obama did that? There's one thing that I am that you'll never be. President of the United States. You see Trump in the audience going, okay, motherfucker.
I was actually at that White House Correspondents' Dinner. It was so over the top, it was like making everyone uncomfortable. And you could see Trump just getting like angrier and angrier.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House.
It's the wrong guy to do that to. Most people would have been humiliated. He got angry. He's like, yeah, all right. I've been thinking about running for about 15 years.
That was a real bad move.
Remember Obama did that?
That right there. That wasn't a joke, just a joke night, brother. That was a room full of power, media, politicians, celebrities, all laughing in sync at one target. And notice what Joe Rogan and Elon are really pointing at. Not that Trump just got roasted, but how far they pushed it. There's a line between humor and humiliation, you know. And Trump, he can take a joke. But when people in power cross that line together, it's not comedy anymore. It's coordination. Seemed like a joke at first. But here's where it gets pretty interesting, because the same crowd that loves talking about decency or tone had no problem turning it into a public spectacle when it was someone that they didn't like. But here's the mistake that they made. They thought embarrassment would end Trump. Yeah, it created him. Now, fast forward, because what started as laughs, it didn't stay that way.
Oh, come on. President Trump didn't actually just do this, did he? He didn't actually say this about Obama, did he? In a cabinet meeting, the president of the United States brought up Barack Hussein Obama, the president that used to be in office. President Trump didn't actually say this about him, did he? Oh my goodness, what am I talking about? Oh, you're not going to want to miss this. Watch this.
And I'll tell you about President Obama. He wasn't a smart man either. I know all about him. He wasn't a smart man. Highly overrated. He was a great divider. And our country can't go through that anymore. Can't go.
Man, Trump, you know what, Trump, I love you, man. You know what? I'm so happy we have a president that's telling the truth. Talking about Obama. Obama is the great divider. Obama brought all the chaos that we're seeing in the country. It started with him. This whole division, 100%. President Trump was spot on. President Trump was spot on about what he said about Barack Hussein Obama. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Thank you, Mr. President Donald J. Trump. And also, President Trump was being politically correct.
See, this is what a conversation shifts from personality to impact. You can call somebody overrated all day. That's opinion. Cool. But when some people start connecting that division, race tension, and political chaos back to one administration, that's not just an opinion anymore. That's people trying to make sense of what they've been living through. And let's be real. The same media that tells you certain conversations are too dangerous has no problem labeling half the country every name in the book. So division is only a problem when the wrong side points it out. That's convenient. But wait, because now we're stepping into territory they really don't like revisiting. Not feelings, not opinion. Now, here's where people get tripped up. They hear new evidence, and then someone else says old footage, and now everybody's confused. But the real question isn't whether that clip is old. It's why something that serious never actually got resolved in a way people could understand. Incidental, collection, unmasking, dissemination. Those aren't random words. They not even a little bit. That's intelligence language. Stuff that I don't even fully comprehend yet. But when you hear that information about a president-elect and his team was being spread around internally, you don't just brush it off like it's gossip. That ain't just like Love and Hip Hop news right there. But watch how this works. When it's one side, it's called protecting democracy. When it's the other side, it's suddenly the biggest threat we've ever seen. Same actions, but different headlines. And now the temperature really turns up because, whoo, some people aren't dancing around it anymore. They're saying it directly.
It should shake every single American in their shoes. I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016. We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history. James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting in July 28th in the Oval Office. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years. It undermined a sitting duly elected president. It sabotaged administration. It framed a three-star general. It destroyed and ripped this country apart. We had a constitutional crisis, the likes of which I don't think any American can fully comprehend. It is atrocious, and every single one of them must be held accountable.
I know that's right. I know that's right. You know, that word right there, treason. That's not a light word. That's the kind of word that gets thrown around when people feel like the system didn't just fail. It was used against them. Now, whether you agree or not, that's not even the point right now. No. The point is, how many voices are starting to say the quiet part out loud? Because for years, the narrative, that thing was locked in tight. Certain questions completely off limits. Certain conclusions already decided. And now suddenly people are revisiting everything. Not because they were told to either. Because it never sat right in the first place, it seems. And just when you think it stops at speculation, you get something straight from the podium, y'all.
Another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people. While publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, in private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew. There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies at the time. The Russia hoax was a blatant lie, all ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and leaked to the news media to launch a years-long witch hunt against President Trump and his first administration. Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets, and some even had their lives destroyed because of this vicious lie. The president's first 2 years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources, time, and political capital were spent having to debunk these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years later, thanks to the declassification of documents by Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared with defamatory lies. President Trump was right from the beginning about all of this, and we are grateful that justice can be served. Now, we have even more damning evidence implicating those who tried to sabotage a duly elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified 2020 report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help elect President Trump in 2016. And in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this hoax. It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative.
Listen carefully to what she's saying. Manufactured intelligence, delegitimized before he took office. Officials knew the truth. Those aren't vague accusations. That's structured language right there. That's someone standing behind the microphone saying, look, this wasn't chaos. It was actually deliberate. Now, here's the part that should make anybody, pause. Like, for real. If intelligence was shaped to fit a narrative, then everything built on top of the narrative starts looking real shaky. And suddenly all those years of headlines, investigations, and talking points, you start wondering. You sit back and you really start wondering. And the same outlets that told you this was settled are now real quiet while this is being said out loud. So, let's look at everything. Let's take a step back. We got a public humiliation, turns into presidency. A presidency turns into 2 years of investigations. Years of investigations turn into questions about the people who started them. And now the questions are getting louder. Not because somebody forced them to. Because too many pieces are sitting on the table at the same exact time right now, y'all. When that happens, people stop arguing about if something happened and start arguing about why it did. So, if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write chain reaction. Yes, put that in the comment section. That way I know. Whew. Y'all, I'm going to be honest with y'all. So, by the end of this video, I got a phone. I got a confession. I was late picking my daughter from school today. After school, I thought she was supposed to get picked up at 4:30 today, but they said 4 o'clock. So, right at the end of this video, I get a phone call saying, yo, where you at? Thank God, I didn't miss the how do I say the time cutoff. I was almost by a minute though, and so I had to come back, and that's why I'm over here looking like. I literally just came in the door, came on the computer, had to rewatch this whole clip, and yeah, y'all be safe. Go check us out about it today, man. You could be saving their life.